From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2204, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, January 29th, 2020. In our top story this week, a new chief executive is in place at the American Radio Relay League.
In a move that has generated a buzz throughout some of the amateur community, the board of the American Radio Relay League voted against re-electing Howard Mickle, WB2ITX, as chief executive officer. Effective Monday, January 20th, Barry Shelley, N1VXY, became interim CEO of the league. This is Barry Shelley's second term as interim CEO. The league's chief financial officer for 28 years, he was also chosen as interim CEO following the retirement of Tom Gallagher, NY2RF, in 2018. Howard Mickle's short tenure as CEO began in October of 2018. As speculation continues on a successor, a search committee has been created to review candidates. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Ralph Squillace, KK6 ITB.
As modern as SDR may be, amateurs still appreciate radio's legacy. In this case, its earliest voice mode. Get ready for a rally on AM.
Ham radio operators are getting a chance to turn back time, at least for a little while, between the 1st and 3rd of February during the 4th annual AM Rally. It doesn't matter whether your rig is a new piece of SDR equipment or a homebrew rig with vacuum tubes, a trusty old boat anchor, or something somewhere in between. It also doesn't matter whether you get on 160 meters, 6 meters, or any of the amateur frequencies in between. You can run as few as 5 watts or take your power to the legal limit. This event is all about celebrating amplitude modulation and celebrating the hams who opt in for the fun of it on that weekend. In addition to awards in different categories, there will also be a special recognition for the longest transmission heard, lowest power used, most unique equipment, and working W1AW, the headquarters stations for ARRL, one of the sponsors, along with Radio Engineering Associates and iNet Radio. Visit the website amrally.com for more details. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jack Parker, W8ISH.
In our final story this week, we ask, what extremes would you go to get your hands on an old radio? Newsline anchor Stephen Kinford picks up the story.
If that radio is the wireless transmitter that operator Jack Phillips used on April 15, 1912 to summon help for the doomed RMS Titanic, those extremes likely include ocean depths. The United States company that has salvage rights to the wreckage is ready to make that trip, and soon. It's asking a U.S. Department Court judge in Eastern Virginia to approve an undersea expedition to the ship's interior to retrieve the Marconi transmitter that summoned the RMS Carpathia. It sent the message, quote, "Come at once. We have struck a berg. It's a CQD, old man." End quote. In an agreement reached recently between the two countries, Britain and the United States both have the authority to grant or refuse permission for such missions. RMS Titanic Incorporated, the U.S. company hoping to make the trip, noted in its court papers that while the radio room itself has stayed somewhat unscathed, holes are forming in the deckhouse directly above it, placing the Marconi set in peril. The Washington Post said that Park Stevenson, a Titanic expert, called the transmitter the world's most famous radio.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB, Jack Parker, W8ISH, Stephen Kinford, N8WB, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.